Hey, what's going on YouTube? Black Bear Hunter coming at you again, and we're here to talk about PastryArchy. This is brewed by Declaw Brewing, located in Baltimore, Maryland. 8.5% ABV, as you can see. And this is actually a bourbon barrel aged Vietnamese coffee stout, right? I love those words together. Barrel aged and Vietnamese coffee. Nothing else to say. But yeah, it puts it in a different class. Like I want to say, what's the company out of San Diego that does the Speedway, that does the Speedway Vietnamese coffee stout. Love it. Like that totally opened my eyes to different coffee, different types of coffee. Well, some also. So some pretty much did it for me, but theirs was not Vietnamese, but just like changing up the types of coffee, especially using, local, right? So at the end of the day, PastryArchy. I'm not sure what type of coffee that they're using in their stout, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was local. Actually, I think it actually tells on the can, and we were talking about it when I had it a couple months ago. Okay, so it's basically an Indian monsoon Malabar coffee. So aged in bourbon barrels for a complex and decadent velvety smooth finish. Right? So an Indian monsoon Malabar coffee. Right there. So yeah. So okay, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I've had a few I've had a Turkish coffee. I've never had an Indian coffee in a stout. So this is going to be interesting. But I want to say the PastryArchy that I had at Declaw was much different. And when I say that, I know that the ABV percentage was a bit higher. I'd like to say it was like mid nines. And there was several different flavors because I think they have like a tiramisu. They have I can't remember the other one, but I think there were four different types. And like you say, this is a fourth edition, right? So this is the fourth year that they've brewed it. It's a limited release. And so at the end of the day, here we are. Notes on the beer is that it's a full body Russian Imperial Stout with a complex mix of malt flavors, decadent chocolate. We already talked about the type of coffee and Indian coffee, nuttiness, actuated by caramel, oak, and bourbon notes. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and check this bad boy out. So if you know anything about Declaw, there's a little bit of CO2 coming out of there. But if you know anything about Declaw, they've been around for a minute. The coffee smells pretty good. Not as much as I would expect. Like when it comes to the aromas, but it's not out of the can yet. But they've been around for a while. I used to really love Colossus. When they made that originally, like back in like 2000, I want to say I was drinking at like 2008. Oh, it was delicious, right? And I couldn't get enough of it. And that opened the door for me to try out Declaw. I started drinking almost everything that they were putting out at that time. And it's like, for me, that was early for me in craft beer. Not the first craft beer that I had, but, like to really sit down and try everything from a company. And like I said, at that time they were really pushing the envelope. So now, I check them out on a regular. They have like Devil's Due and a ton of other beers. I could just go down the list of other beers that they create, and it's just like they've created a lot of winners. So at the end of the day, this new beer comes out, PastryArchy. I'm not sure of the base beer for this, but at the end of the day, I'm ready to try it. And so here we are. Like I said, I had it at the brewery. Let's see if we get that. Oh, there we go. Had this at the brewery. Look at that. Nice 2-finger hit. And look at those bubbles. But it's really big bubbles and it looks like it's receding really, really quick. You see that? So with that being said, yeah, it's receding pretty quick. So it poured looked like actually like a cola. Like you can see the light going through it. Around, yeah, you can see the light going through it, just out right through it. Nice dark khaki colored head. Like we saw, it got out to about 2 fingers. Breaking down pretty quick. Not a lot of lace into it. You can see a little bit, extremely light levels of lacing. Little webbing across there, like, so it's kind of sticking, soapy, sudsy, but it was a solid pour. Agitated a little bit, and it responded. Definitely responded. And so, yeah, look at it. It's receded already. I mean, that was only a couple seconds. It didn't retain well. So let me go ahead and check out the aromas, see exactly what they're working with. You're definitely getting the coffee. It smells actually kind of earthy in its own way. A little dark chocolate, maybe a little vanilla. It's definitely some vanilla in there, kind of giving it like a sweet smell, sweet notes. But it's definitely straightforward. It's not like real. It's not real like complicated, and so yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So with that being said, well, hold on before I even say anything else. I definitely was really looking forward to this beer because, like I said, at the end of the day, when you say bourbon barrel aged Vietnamese coffee stout, this guy right here gets excited, right? And so at the end of the day, the pour really didn't tell me too much. It still might have those flavors and that essence and that, like I said, that Vietnamese coffee is delicious. But also, like I said, I've had Speedway's version of this stout. I had one by Evil Twin, the Vietnamese, Vietnamese selfie, Vietnamese scooter selfie or something like that. I did a review on it. If you want to go back and take a look at it, that shit was delicious. Oh, sorry. That was a very delicious beverage. And so at the end of the day, when you say barrel aged Vietnamese coffee stout, you're getting people excited. You get me excited. So I'm going to go ahead and try this out. And if I get a little rough, don't take it personal. So with that being said, now I can say that. Cheers, YouTube. Food. Okay. So, like I said earlier about the notes. Smell. It was straightforward. You smell some coffee. I tell you, I smelled something else, but I wasn't sure what it was. Chocolate and vanilla. And so the taste was definitely straightforward. Um, so you definitely getting some roast in there, right? Like so nose wise, you got some roast, some like a char, um, some toffee, maybe caramel and brown sugar, um, and then you got the earthy notes like the hops, right? Um, I didn't smell any bourbon. I didn't smell like it didn't smell like Vietnamese coffee. It smelled like coffee, but not Vietnamese coffee. So taste wise, going in, definitely taste coffee. It don't taste like Vietnamese coffee. A lesser version of a chocolate. You do get some earthy notes. It's kind of hoppy, a little bitter, like a Russian Imperial Stout should be. Um, but everything tastes extremely mild. And um, the only thing consistent is like this earthy, peppery delivery. Like earthy, peppery delivery. And like I said, the sweetness from maybe the chocolate. There's hints of vanilla in that taste. That kind of like pops up in there, like it's like an aftertaste. Realistically, um, you definitely get that roast from the coffee. Um, maybe from the coffee. Yeah, you definitely just get the roast. You can't. It doesn't taste like I said. Like it don't taste like Vietnamese coffee. I definitely am not getting any type of barrel aging in there. Maybe that might be it just smoothed it out. Like it is kind of smooth in its own way for the delivery, but it's definitely like straightforward. And the flavor to me falls flat, right? Like it's there, but it's just not like there like a Vietnamese coffee should deliver. Um, it kind of feels like well, you know how like I don't know if you've ever had Vietnamese coffee, but in those coffees, man, they should use a little coconut milk or something in this. That's probably what I'll need to do to it. Um, it's a nice coffee tone, but not a Vietnamese coffee tone because like Vietnamese is kind of strong, right? Like it's like real robust. Um, and depending on which Vietnamese coffee, you'll get like some dark fruit in it. But this one, I get like prunes. I've never tasted that in a Vietnamese coffee, but you're definitely getting like prunes. It's definitely been barrel aged because it's kind of oaky. Um, I don't know. The spice is stronger than everything else. Hold on. Yeah, it tastes like Coca-Cola on the front of your tongue. So when you run it off the front of your tongue, it tastes like Coca-Cola. That's exactly what I'm tasting. There's definitely it's missing a lot. Like that coffee, like I said, it is coffee. Like more like McDonald's coffee. Have you ever had McDonald's coffee? Where it's kind of like watery and you need to add milk to it to give it a little bit more body because it gives it like a little bit more complexity. This is like, man, this might even be like military coffee. Like when I was on the ship, I used to be ex-Navy. So that's what they kind of remind me of. Yeah, if it wasn't a bourbon barrel, it wasn't there long. Um, but you get the bitterness from the chocolate, the earthy notes, the coffee. Uh, I don't know. It's just blah. I mean, it's a meh. Like it's not bad. It's not good. You ever see Kung Pao where they was like, it's not bad, wrong, badong. Definitely, it's badong, bad, wrong. So at the end of the day, I mean, from coming from Declaw, I'm really surprised. Like I said, I've had the other version, or I've had a version that um, they had on tap, and it was actually really good. This in the can is not, to me. It doesn't taste like the same beer. Mouthful wise, is definitely on the lighter side. Extremely, it like I said, it has a good feel to it. Maybe from the barrel aging, it's got like it's really like a light body or a medium low body to it. Um, Moderate to medium carbonation. Has definitely got some carbonation there. Not like I said, not a ton of viscosity. Um, is it rolls down your tongue easy because it's so thin. Um, and I don't know, like with a name like Pastryarchy, you expect more. When you say bourbon barrel aged Vietnamese coffee, you expect more. You expect a little bit more viscosity, much more flavor, maybe even a little bit more sweet. Because like I said, it's like a bittersweet or um, I don't know. It's like the same viscosity as like Guinness. Or like I've seen some beers that was like, or I've seen stouts, people buy stouts that's like 5%. Um, but some of those even have more body than this. This is like the ones you like a stout that you would get at like I don't know, at the supermarket, and they say that they have stouts, and they literally all their stouts are like 5-6% in the can from some brewery you never heard of. Probably made it in somebody's backyard. That's what it tastes like, a home brew. And so overall, I would okay, good in this. Overall, the flavor profile doesn't feel like extremely complete. Like I said, it's really straightforward in the smell and the aromas, really straightforward in the taste. Not a lot to it. I don't know, maybe what, age it like 20 years. Maybe it might have some taste, maybe not. I don't know. Whatever at the day, I totally didn't like this. That the only consistent thing they had going on was that earthy flavor. It was the most dominant characteristic. Um, which, like I said, going into this beer, I was excited because it said Vietnamese bourbon barrel age Vietnamese coffee, right? And so at the end of the day, that's what I'm expecting. And I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe they don't drink a lot of Vietnamese coffee. Maybe. Does that make a difference? Yes. Because at the end of the day, if you understand exactly what like, if you're saying Vietnamese coffee, this would not have passed like the any type of test, quality control. And so Declaw, I don't know what they had in mind, but this is definitely not what they had in mind compared to the coffee stout that they had on tap before that I've tasted. And it wasn't a bourbon barrel aged Vietnamese coffee stout. It was some other type of coffee. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with this stout, but the name. Bourbon barrel aged Vietnamese coffee stout. It's like I said, my tongue was ready for bourbon barrel aged Vietnamese coffee. And so with that being said, they totally disappointed me in that aspect. It's an okay beer, but it's definitely not a bourbon barrel aged coffee Vietnamese coffee stout. I would prefer something a little bit thicker, just just more body. richer flavors and taste. Like I said, bourbon, barrel aged Vietnamese coffee. So when you say that, those flavors should pop. I should smell it as soon as I crack that can. So from the bourbon, from the coffee, you done them a disjustice. Now every time I think about bourbon barrel aged coffee, Vietnamese coffee stout, I'm going to second guess it. I'm gonna just like want like a thimble, like the tasters, before I even try it. Like usually, if I go somewhere and they say they have a bourbon barrel aged Vietnamese coffee stout, oh, I'm tasting it all. Not even like a taster. I want to pour. So at the end of the day, worth a try. Not straight thumbs down. If you're looking for a bourbon barrel aged coffee stout, this is definitely not what you want. It's definitely something I wouldn't quest after. And I kind of did, like I went to one place, they had a single, right? And it was like a really costly single. So I was like, oh, okay. So they got this on the shelves. And I actually chased this down and got a 4-pack. It was, well, compared to the single can, I'd have been much more accept with the single can, because the single can costs probably 60%, 65% of a 4-pack. So at the end of the day, I was like, I'm going to chase down this 4-pack. And I chased that 4-pack down, and I'm pretty upset at myself for chasing that down. Look at that. Toffee, chocolate, coffee beans. Look at that picture. Oh, they get you excited. I mean, the can looks great, right? And they totally underwhelmed. So at the end of the day, 22 minutes of me talking about shite. And so at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, like realistically, if I had to rate this beer, which I'm gonna have to do now, I'd easily give it like a 2 or 2.25 to be nice. But at the end of the day, yeah, if I could give it low, but a negative, I would. But at the end of the day, it's still a decent beer, but it's just not what they advertise. So if you can get it much cheaper than the price point that they're selling it, take it. If you can get it on tap for a taster, go ahead and taste this shit. You tell me what you think, and then we'll talk, right? So at the end of the day, cheers, YouTube. I might go use this or the rest of the other cans to make a fucking stew, a beef stew. I think that's what I'll do. So you just got the beef stew rating. You're the first person to get the beef stew rating. Cheers, YouTube.